jump right in and create a new game over UI. We'll base it off the pause UI, so duplicate that. Uncheck the pause UI so we can see the new UI. Rename the new one to game over UI. Open it up. Let's rename this label here to GUI game over label. And change the text from paused to game over. The play button is going to become a retry button. So we change the name here and also the text on the inside. Retry. Now let's reposition this button here to X -200 and Y -225. Let's delete the options button. We don't need that. For the quit button, let's move it to X 200 and Y -225. Let's duplicate the label, rename it, GUI time stat label, change the text to 00:00. Make sure it's center aligned. Set the X to 0, Y 125. Let's change the size here. 52. Duplicate this again. Rename to GUI kills label. Text is kills. Also centered. Font size 42. X position 25. Y position 60. Duplicate again. GUI kills stat label. So this is going to be a stat screen on your game over. Each one of these, with the exception of the time, is going to have a stat and a label. Let's set the X position -290. Y is still 60. Change the alignment to right aligned. You'll see how this lines up, so you have the stat and then the label. That's what we want. 0 kills by default. Go ahead and duplicate that stat. Rename it. This will just be the label, so name it GUI mineral label. Change the text to minerals. Also right aligned. We'll go 26 for the font size. Normal instead of bold. 300 for X. 275 for Y. And let's make the counterpart to this label the stat. So GUI mineral stat label. And we'll set it to 0 for default as well. For this one, let's make it left align and position it X 820, Y 275. Let's make another one of these for the gas resource. So duplicate the label, rename it to GUI gas label. The text should say gas. Since this is the label part of it, we're going to right align it. We'll set the X position to 300, Y position to 245. Now let's create the stat. GUI gas stat label. Set this to 0. left align, position X 820, Y 246. Let's uncheck the game UI so you can see that these labels are in the right spot. We're just duplicating the ones that are in the game. For the score, let's create another label. GUI score label. Set the text to score. Size 42. Font style bold. Centered at X 120 and Y 0. Another duplicate for the stat score. GUI score stat label. Text is 0 for default score. Let's lower the font size to 36. Keep it center aligned, but change the Y position to -40 and duplicate this again. A little tedious, but almost done. GUI best score label. Text is best. Font size is 42, also centered. X position -120. Y position 0. And the final one here. GUI best score stat label. Set the default text to 0. The size was 36. Still centered. Change the Y position to -40. And there we go. That's our game over screen. So a lot of UI, a lot of labels there, but we got it. It's done. Now we just have to hook it up to the game so it actually has the score, the real stats, the kills, the time, your resources, all of that. For now, let's uncheck the game over UI. Click on the robot, scroll on down. We're looking for the CS game value script. Open that up. Scroll to the top here. We're going to bring in another class using Unity Engine .scene management. Let's add a public variable, Unity Engine .ui.text. We'll call it time stat label. We're going to create this for all of our labels, for all of our stat labels. Unity Engine.ui.text. Kills stat label. Minerals stat label. Gas stat label. Score stat label. And the last one here, best score stat label. Now let's create a variable for the game object game UI. So the whole parent. Another one for game over UI. This way we can toggle one off and one on. Now a private variable to manage the state. Bool m_dead equals false. Let's only set the animation variable when you're not dead. So if m_dead equals false, then we'll set this m_anim equal to the animator component. So let's handle the player's death. So when they're taking damage, you want to check if their life percent is greater than 0. If it's not greater than 0, else we want to check if they're already dead, because we've already handled this, we don't need to do it again. So if m_dead equals false, we want to end the game after a few seconds, so we'll use invoke. End game, the name of the new method we want to use to end the game, and 3 for the seconds we want to delay. And then game UI.setActive false to turn off the in-game HUD. And we'll set the m_dead variable to true. Now let's put that end game method here after take damage. Little comment saying game over. Public void end game. Game over UI dot set active true to turn on all that UI that we created earlier. Now let's set some of those variables. So the mineral stat label dot text. First, we need to get the whole number for the minerals. So int to cast it to a whole number. Mineral count dot toString, because it's text, it needs to be a string. And then for gas stat label dot text, same thing. Make it an int first. Gas count, and then make it a string, toString. For the rest of the stats, since we don't have them in the game yet, let's just use placeholder. I'm going to add a little comment here using placeholder values for now. For the time, it's time stat label dot text, and we're just going to set the string to 00:14. Kill stat label dot text equals 12. Score stat label dot text equals 365. And then for best score stat label dot text equals 33445. Okay, let's save this. Go File, Save All. Go ahead and minimize, back to Unity. If you go to the character, the robot boy, you'll see all the stat labels are here now, the components for them. We need to drag in all the components that we created for the Game Over UI into these slots. So first the Game UI itself, the Game Over UI, and then you can find each of these individually. GUI mineral stat label, kill stat label, mineral stat label, gas stat label, score stat label, and best score stat label. Yay, our Game Over UI is ready. Let's try it out. Okay, play. We're gonna die because of what we did in the last video. And boom, game over. So you have the option to quit or retry. And die again. You'll notice that the HUD goes away in game. 3 seconds later, game over appears. But notice the retry button isn't working, just the quit. So let's fix that right now. Open up the Game Over UI, click GUI retry button, go down here to on click and find GUI retry button, and then add a component. Start typing CS retry button and hit new script, create and add, and then open up that new C# script. Using Unity Engine.Scene Management, under Update, Let's add a new method for the comment, say reload game level. Public void retry clicked. So when someone clicks the retry button, scene manager.load scene, and the name of the scene is game level. Save this. Minimize your code editor. Click the no function dropdown, CS retry button, retry clicked. Since this is the new way to load scenes, we should also do this for the play button. Using Unity Engine.scene management. So instead of using application.load level, we're going to load the game level using the scene manager. Scene manager dot load scene. So just like the retry button. Save that. And there's one more button that we have to do. It's in the pause menu. CS quit button. Same thing. Import the Unity Engine.scene management class. Little comment here, say load start menu. Change this to scene manager dot load scene and save it again. All right, we should be good now. Let's try it out. Let's die and see the game over screen. So before retry wasn't even working, and now it retries. And every time it loads the level, everything gets reset. So that's all we have to do to retry. And quit. We'll go to the main menu. And quit and pause goes to the main menu as well. So everything's working there. While we're at it, let's clean up the code a bit more. Open up the CS gas trigger. We're going to do some encapsulation. So create a public float gas amount variable. Set this to 0.01f. So before we were manually ticking up the gas count from the CS game value script. It's not the best design. So instead, let's call a new method on CS game values called collect gas, and we'll pass in the amount that we want, gas amount. Do the same thing for CS mineral trigger. Create a public variable, it's a float called mineral amount. Set it equal to 0.01f. And same thing here. Dot collect minerals. And then pass in mineral amount. So then go to CS game values. We need to add these two new methods. So you can put it under the fixed update. The first one is to tick up the gas count. Public void collect gas. And remember, a float is being passed in. Call it gas amount. And this is where we tick up the game value variable. So first check if they're not dead. And then gas count plus equals gas amount. Same thing for minerals. Tick up mineral count. Public void collect minerals. Float mineral amount. If m underscore dead equals false. Then mineral count ticks up by the mineral amount. So save all this. Go back to Unity. Let's play it. Just make sure everything still works. So when you go over the gas trigger, the gas ticks up. Notice on the game over screen how the enemy keeps spinning. He's still animating. Let's make a change so that doesn't happen. Open up CS Enemy AI. We're going to add a new state here. We're going to call it private bool m underscore deactivated. And we're going to set it to false by default. We're going to turn on this deactivation in a new method. Public void deactivate. M underscore rigid body 2D dot velocity equals M underscore stop. M anim dot enabled equals false. M underscore deactivated equals true. So when he's deactivated, he's not going to animate and he's not going to move. So on collision exit 2D, we don't want to do this calculation if he's deactivated. So if M underscore deactivated equals false, just paste that in there. And same thing for on collision enter. And one more collision here. We have the on collision stay 2D. We need to do this for the fixed update, which handles the animation variable. And we don't need to do this for start or awake, but we do need to do it for update. All right, so just paste all that in there. And that should be it. Nothing for start or awake. So now when do we deactivate the enemy? Well, go to your CS game values. Go to that new endgame method that we created. And this is a very convenient spot to put it. So get all the enemies in the room. Game object, bracket, enemies equals game object dot find game objects with tag enemy. So this will create a array of enemies, and we want to iterate through each of these using a for each. So for every enemy game object in the enemies array, we want to get that enemy's CS enemy AI script, and we want to set deactivate. So call the method deactivate. So we save that, and if we play it now, when you die, 3 seconds, and then game over screen, and he stops because he's been deactivated. So it's much cleaner that way. So that wraps up our video for creating a game over screen. We also did some code optimizations and fixes in this tutorial, so if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to comment, and like and subscribe. Don't forget to save the project and the scene.